Okay, my friends, this is about as deep as you can possibly get in the deep end. This is the Gospel of Philip, the lost book or secret book of Philip. Gnostic stuff. And as you know, I've been talking about Gnostic, this and that, for a while now, because it's just another one of the ancient texts. I don't just take just the Bible. I don't take the Colburn Bible. I don't take the Quran, or don't take any of the Bibles just on their own and say, forget it, no, I can't look at that. I look at them all. Now, I try to see if they have anything of relevance to what I have discovered. And here's something that's in the secret book of Philip, the Gospel of Philip, Nag Hammadi's. Light and darkness. I'm deep into that. I understand what light and darkness is, and they're part of the same thing, and that's exactly what it says. It says light and darkness, life and death, right and left are siblings of one another. They're both inseparable and inseparable, the black and the white. For this reason, the good are not good, the bad are not bad, life is not life, and death is not death. Now listen to this carefully. Each will dissolve into its original nature. It will just dissolve into what it originally was. What's its original nature? So it says, all of these things are not the things you thought they were. They're two parts of one thing. But they will dissolve into their original nature. And what is superior to the world cannot be dissolved, for it is eternal. Wow. Now, how do you get superior to the world so that you become eternal? All right, let's make this into a two-parter. The first thing is, he said, you'll dissolve. We'll all dissolve into our original nature, but there's going to be some that are eternal and will not dissolve because they are superior to the world. Now, what does it say here? This is about the light, which is what everything is going to dissolve into. That's because what everything is made of. Everything, literally everything. Now listen, Jesus said, if they say to you, where have you come from? Say to them, we have come from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself. That's like stars and the sun and so forth. It appears to me. So where the light came in all by itself, just popped out of nowhere and just started shining. It established itself. It appeared in their image. So it established this light that came down to create everything and appear in the image of God. The light condensed into people and so forth, which apparently is the image of God. That's what it says. So now that's part one. And it also talks about not being able to see God for the light. You can't see, and you can't see the light, for the light is within everything, that type of thing. It's all about light is what everything's constructed of. And that's dipole electron flood theory. So everything is made of the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest bits of particles called light. It's actually even smaller than that. And they can be separated. It says they're inseparable, but they're not totally inseparable. You know, in Philip, it did say that the particles of light are inseparable, but we have seen them separate. So that's kind of interesting. But normally they wouldn't do that. We're using laser and venturis and stuff. That's not going to be something they would be doing if they were running around in chariots and so forth. So I guess at that point it would be inseparable. However, up in, cosmic radiation and nuclear type explosions, these particles will divide. I would think God would be fully aware of that, but that's the black and the white separating. Shown it many, many times. So the light does not continuously stay stuck together, is my opinion. Yeah, see right here it says that light and darkness are inseparable. Well, we have seen the white separate from the black, which is light from the darkness. Now, I want to just give a little shout out to this here. The Gospel of Philip, and this is the Nag Hammadi, and this is Altrusian Grace Media. Okay, so at this particular lines in Philip, they say that light and darkness are inseparable, just like life and death, right and left. You can't have one without the other. And light and darkness agreed. Life and death agreed. But when you're alive, you're not really alive. When you're dead, you're not really dead. That type of thing is kind of confusing, but I do understand it because you're made of these particles that you're going to dissolve into. But they are not inseparable. Those particles can be separate. In the natural world, normally you would never see that. Maybe at the outer edges of the atmosphere, cosmic radiation would do that. But we see it now from our Venturi experiments with lasers. I don't think they had lasers then. I have no idea. But I would think God would understand these particles, these two, the black and the white, the light and the darkness, are supposed to be inseparable, but I call that the strong nuclear force. They're part of the nucleus, and they're tighter than hell. To separate them, very hard. Through the Venturi, no problem at all. But normally they got to slam together two huge things. That's why they built CERN and all that stuff, to try to get down inside the particles. Well, we're already down into the light, so we can separate the light and the darkness, the black and the white. All right, this is darkness and this is light. Now this is whatever color it is. It's white or any color, but it's the light part, and that is the darkness. This is what we found in our experiments, exactly these two particles, this is from Fermilab. Same particles, have the glowy edge around the black, and this is a photon. Now, they slam things together and just get little bits and pieces, and they see these, but they really don't know where they originated because it's just slammed together. We started with light, so we started way down under, almost 2,000 times smaller particles than CERN was using, so we could actually see them. And they are glued together, and they are tight. In order to get electricity, you have to rip that white away from the black. And they're almost inseparable. That's what a generator does. And then when you turn a generator on, your engines run, and you turn it on, because it's ripping and ripping and ripping and ripping this white apart off of the black. And very, very hard to do that with magnetic fields. With a Venturi, right here, we were able to squirt those light particles right down through this tiny little Venturi and separate it. And this is just nothing but white here. You see it over here? This is the separation that I find it hard to believe that God doesn't understand that you can separate the black from the white. So I'm sure that's understood by God, but at that point, whoever wrote that testament in Philip would say that these were inseparable. And I understand that way of thinking, because they shouldn't be separated. They should never really be separated. But when they slam them together at CERN or through the Venturi, they do separate. But that's not something that would be thousands of years ago that they would be doing. I don't think. But I really don't know. But it does say they're supposed to be inseparable. I say no, they are separable, and I could show they are separable. All right, let's just go over a couple of passages that could get you into eternity. All right, this is possible? I don't know. But it says that these are the secret sayings of Jesus, and they were written down by Didymus Judas Thomas, who was the scribe for Jesus. Now, he said, whoever discovers interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Well, the interpretation to me means the broad overall understanding, because you're 100% certain there's no way that you could understand what some of these things, why they're in there. They're not something you would expect. Let me put it that way. But here's what Jesus says, and every one of these is supposed to be the words of Jesus while he was walking around doing the things that he did. He said, those who seek, which means you have to seek, or you're screwed anyway. So those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel, and they will reign over all. And after they have reigned, they will rest. Now remember back in Philip, it talked about how you have to get into eternity, how you have to be better than the world, that type of thing. You have to be selected. Well, let me go back to that to be sure I'm saying the right thing. Okay, here it is, right there. Everything that there is going to dissolve into the particles of light that I talked about. But what is superior to the world, if you're somehow superior to the world, you will keep going, because you cannot be dissolved, for it is eternal. So there's eternal things. People, I would imagine, I don't know if other things are superior to the world, but let's just work with humans. How would you get superior to the world? That's the point. And it does tell you how in these texts. And you have to recognize the world as a corpse and a body. That's what it says. All right, I'm just going to go over a few of these. Most of them very, very difficult to understand. Some of them very simple. Jesus said, know what is in front of your face. What is hidden from you will be disclosed to you. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing buried that will not be raised. To me, that sounds like the Mudfossil deal. Now, then there's a ton of things that are just very difficult, but let's get up to number 50, is about the light. Okay, this is the darkness and the light. And it says, Jesus said, there's two states of the light. There's motion and there's repose. Repose means just laying around doing nothing like this, just sitting around, which would be considered the cosmic microwave background, just sort of floating around out there, some moving slowly, or even like just dead stop. And then there's motion, which is light. Coming at you is light. That's motion. That's the particles that are in motion that came from the sun, and now they're banging around all over the place. And we have lights that shoot out of here. Candles make light. Anything that breaks up the particles and breaks them down into their little bits because of combustion, basically, creates light. Well, we use lasers and electricity now to make light, similar to like sparks and static, snap, lightning. Bzz. So anyway, these are the two particles that make everything, and they're supposed to be tight. Lightning is when they're apart. Lightning is just the white part. There's no black in the lightning. The black will ride around outside of it to try to get into it, but the lightning white will be right down the center going. Bzz. White has no mass and a ton of energy. And in motion, it is the energy that drives everything. And in repose, it is what you are standing on. And I say everything there is made of light. And it will dissolve back into the particles that it originally came from. But like all your organs and body parts, they'll all rot. And they're going to turn back into where they came from, which is the blacks and the whites, the little particles. Now, this is about the light. Jesus said, if they say to you, where have you come from? Say to them, we have come from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself. It established itself and then went out and appeared in their image. Let us make them in our own image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children. We're the children of the light, and we are the chosen of the living Father. Some light is chosen for whatever reason. And if you do the right things, you won't get dissolved. Basically, that's what it looks like to me. So we are the children of the light. We are the chosen of the living Father. If they ask you, what is the evidence of your Father in you? Say to them, it is motion and rest. Just like I showed you. Particles of light and energy are motion. Rest is just stuff laying around. Now, what do you have to do to be superior to the world? This may or may not be taken correctly, but it says, well, look, I'll read it to you. Okay, Jesus said, whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass, a corpse. And whoever has discovered a carcass of that person, the world is not worthy. Now, does that make you superior to the world? It sounds like it to me. Of that person, the world is not worthy. It sounds like that person is superior to the world. And what is the world? The world, it appears to me, is basically the population of the world. It's the mass of humanity. It's like the groupthink of the world, and you're superior to it. And you're one of the ones who's going to be selected and say, yeah, that's stuff, we don't want them. They're just not thinking. Leave them alone. Let them go somewhere else. And that's what it sounds like to me. Whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass. And which is the mud fossils. I don't know why I discovered these things, but I know that other people must have known about this. There's no way you can miss these things. Absolutely no way. So they were suppressed. Now, there's a lot of things about here that you have to speak up. You know, when you know something, you're supposed to speak up about it. Anyway, so that's 56. It says, that right there, the world, the world is not worthy of that person that knows that the world is basically a carcass. And you can go either way with that, because the world itself is just nothing but body parts, and the mentality of the world is basically dead. So, as far as I can determine, there's not much going on up in the old cranium here. Here's another one. See, another not worthy. Jesus said, whoever has come to know the world has discovered the body. Now, how that works, I'm not sure. But it's nothing but body parts, and I've discovered the body parts, and whoever has discovered the body of that one, the world is not worthy. These I have a hard time interpreting. I got to be honest with you. But anybody that understands the things that I've been showing should understand that the world is literally body parts, and it's a corpse, and light is what everything's made of, and that's what we will return to. But some light is selected to be eternal. But you have obligations to make that light continue to shine. And if you don't follow those obligations, it goes the other way.